Okay, I think we're live. Good morning, everybody. This is Jennifer Meinking, the author of the Loki of Midgard series, the first book, which I have right here. Hopefully you can see it. Loki of Midgard, The Making of a Magician. It's the first book in the series. There's going to be at least 3, possibly more. It just kind of depends on how the series goes. But anyway, it is officially live on Amazon. And I apologize for being late. I was supposed to start broadcasting at 9, but this is the first time I've ever done this. So we experienced some major technical difficulties. Hopefully we will be able to figure that out before the next one. So after we do this live broadcast, we're going to do another one at 1 o'clock, and then to be announced this evening. Just kind of depends on how things go, but I'll try to get that information out to everybody. And I am using my phone to go live because I could not figure out the desktop. So if anybody out there is really good at Facebook Live and can clue me in on how to get my desktop to work, it's actually my laptop, I would be so grateful. So I just want to introduce anybody who's watching that may not know who I am. Again, my name is Jennifer Meinking. I'm a brand new self-published author, and I just put out a book called Loki of Midgard, The Making of a Magician. It is the first in a historical fantasy series about a very popular character named Loki, and he is the god of mischief in Norse mythology. And so that is why we chose to launch on April Fool's Day. So, no joke, the launch is real. What is the joke is that it's actually been available for a couple of days, but I didn't tell anybody. Amazon pushed it through a lot faster than we thought they would. So it is available via, or not via, but it's available on paperback and ebook. There are a couple of other places you can get the ebook. And sorry if I'm making anybody feel seasick with moving the phone around. So just a little bit about who I am. I am a mother of, believe it or not, 9 children. I'm going to be having my 10th child in August. And I have wanted to be an author since I was 18. So this is actually maybe even younger. So this is a 20-year-old dream that I have finally achieved. And so that's really exciting. I had not planned to publish anything really anytime soon. And this journey started thanks to my oldest daughter, Ariana, who is actually sitting here with me. We could not get both of us in the shot, so I'm going to just go over to her so you guys can say hi. Everybody say hi to Ariana.
Hey guys. I don't know who's out there, so just hey.
Well, people can watch it after it's done too. So this is Ariana. And what we did, she wanted for her 16th birthday. Oh my goodness, I'm a terrible videographer. I'm sorry, and I can't.
You didn't learn from me.
I can't seem to get her in the shot. Well, we got both our eyes in there.
Yeah, we only need one to see.
So Ariana asked me before. I'll go back to her. Before her 16th birthday, she asked if we could do an Avengers marathon. And so what we ended up doing is we went to a friend's house in Rio Rancho, which is a city that's not too far from our hometown, and we watched every single Avengers movie that we could get into a weekend. This was Labor Day weekend of 2018, so not that long ago. And we just started analyzing the movies, and both of us share an affinity for Loki, who is featured in those films. Of course, that's Marvel's version of Loki, very loosely based on Norse mythology. So we decided that we were going to write a fan fiction, and that was kind of fun.
Mostly you.
Yeah, mostly me. I'd never written a fan fiction. I'd read a few, and Ariana had told me about a character in the Marvel Comics who was Loki's half-human daughter. Her name's Tess Black, and she just loved this character so much that she just kept talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. And after analyzing all these movies and seeing that we had noticed a few things. For instance, when Loki is having a conversation with Thor, And at first, you kind of think he's being mean to Thor, that he's just kind of trying to rub things in his face. But then you realize if you really look at it closely, that he's actually showing compassion.
In Dark World, right?
And yes, in Thor: The Dark World, when they're taking Jane to, hopefully I'll get this pronunciation right, Svartalfheim, the home of the Dark Elves in Marvel's universe. Um, they're taking Jane over there to try to get is it the ether? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the ether.
The ether out of her, and they're discussing Jane's mortal status because, of course, Loki and Thor are both Norse gods, and they're not actually gods in the sense that we usually think of gods. They're not completely immortal. They just live a lot longer than humans and are stronger and faster and just generally all around more powerful. So, of course, as they say in the very first Thor, primitive culture like the the Vikings might have worshipped them as gods. So they're talking about Jane and her mortal status, and Loki says to Thor, basically say goodbye, whether it's today, tomorrow, or 1,000 or 100 years from now. I think it is, and if I'm butchering it, somebody correct me. I just did. Yeah, you did. So he says, basically you're going to have to say goodbye, and no matter when it happens, you're never going to be ready. And at first it seems like he's taunting Thor. And then Ariana and I decided, after kind of learning about Tess Black and just watching Loki throughout all of the films that he appears in, we just said, I bet he knows what that feels like. And I don't know if Tom Hiddleston, the actor, or Marvel did that on purpose, but it sure does seem in the acting. If you watch it really closely, it really does seem like the pain that's conveyed during that dialogue. It really does seem like he knows exactly what that feels like, and so to have to say goodbye to a mortal that you love. So we thought that was very compelling. There were some other things in the movies that we also thought were compelling. For instance, why in the world would Loki think it was a good idea for him to be king instead of Thor when, even when they were children, it seemed that Thor was the firstborn, or so they said. I won't do any movie spoilers for those of you who haven't seen the movies. But we thought that's very interesting that Loki is so resentful about the fact that they chose Thor to be king instead of him. And so we wanted to flesh that out a little bit. And what was the other thing that we noticed about the movies?
How he knows his way around Earth.
Oh,
so
that's
well.
right. Yes. If you ever notice when Thor first comes onto Earth in the movies, he's just kind of bumbling around and he doesn't know what's going on or who's what or what's where, and he's just super awkward about the whole thing. They almost make him look like a bumbling idiot, which
I guess he's insane.
I guess everybody thinks he's kind of a bumbling idiot anyway. I personally don't. I actually happen to like Thor, and a lot of people do, but I thought that was very interesting. The first time you see Loki appear on Earth, he knows what he's doing. He knows where to go. He knows how to act. And so we decided he's been to Earth before. So we started writing this fan fiction, and it was fun. And it was just supposed to be something between Ariana and I, maybe share with a few other Marvel fans. And as I was writing, I started to realize there are some really interesting twists and turns that we can take with this. And they just started to come. And I kept writing and I kept writing and I kept writing. And I shared it with a friend. And she read it and said, "Oh my goodness, you got to do something with this." And I said, "Well, I really can't. It's a fan fiction. And, I don't want to mess around with copyrighted material." And then someone reminded me, Loki's Norse mythology. He's public domain. So I thought, what could I do with this? So I took Marvel completely out of my fan fiction, and kept it so that it could be grafted into the Marvel universe someday if Marvel ever decided they wanted to use my material, which would be awesome. That would be so cool. I think I would pass out. Anyway, But if they never wanted to use my material or they never even find out that I exist, then it can stand on its own. And so I started to get really serious about the publishing process. And the book just really came together. It was supposed to be just one novel. It was just going to be a sweet little story. And the more I read and researched about Norse mythology, and even Tom Hiddleston himself and some of the things that he's done in charitable works and just his personality and other things that he's acted in, I started to think, this could be a really interesting character. And so what I've done is I've taken Marvel's Loki as my initial inspiration, and then I added Tom Hiddleston, and I even added a little bit of me, which authors can't really help doing. I think you put a little bit of yourself in every character that you write. And I even put in just a little bit of my husband, some of his sweet side, and a lot of the Norse mythology. I brought some additional characters from Norse mythology in. And two of them especially are my favorites. They're super, super fun.
Wait, it's the ones I'm thinking of?
Probably.
I love those guys.
So we just really had a lot of fun with it. And Ariana, I'm going to go back over to her, has really been a great sounding board in a lot of it. And she's one of the people I dedicated the book to. So it's been a really exciting journey, and all of these twists and turns that came into the story that I didn't expect by, I would say, Thanksgiving, maybe a little bit after, before Christmas for sure. I found myself with 700 to 800 pages of material, and I'm thinking there is no way that I can put this in a novel. Nobody would read it. It'd be that thick.
Or thicker.
Well,
you sound so
and
finished.
you can see how thick the first book is. And so I realized, okay, this is going to have to be a series. And the story just ended up being so much fun, and we ended up taking so many twists and turns, some of them pretty unbelievable. I look at it sometimes and I think, how did I even come up with this? But it just, like I said, it just came to me, and I was able to flush it out and write it. And Ariana helped me get through some stuck spots. A couple of other friends did. And if you do decide to get the book and you look at the acknowledgments section, you can see a lot of the people that I have thanked for their influence and help with the book. So now that I've kind of introduced who I am and where the idea came from, I would like to go back to Ariana and just have her share a couple of her thoughts on the book. She has read the whole thing. Have you read the edited version, or was it the unedited version?
I think I read both. I read several edited versions. I think I read most of the finished version, and then I read the original and the second and what you have for the last one.
And she's always telling me, have you written more? Have you written more? I'm working on the second book now. That is the plan is to release that in the fall. And there is a teaser for that in the second book. But Ariana, give us a little bit of your thoughts on what you thought. Do you have any favorite scenes?
Chapter 25.
Well, nobody knows what chapter 25 is. You can't give any spoilers.
No, I can't tell what chapter 25 is.
She's terrible with spoilers.
I'm horrible with spoilers. Well, not as bad as Chloe. But I like chapter 25. It's really funny. And I love... Do you mind if I mention Loki's best friend? Or he's already there.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then Kristoff and Loki's relationship is really, really fun. Especially how Kristoff is a little bit like Thor, but still not like him.
Well, tell them who Kristoff is.
Kristoff is Loki's best
I'm really
friend.
doing a terrible job here with the camera.
I'm just going to try and ignore the camera moving in my face.
Do you want to hold it?
I don't know if that'd work. Okay, what was I saying? Kristoff...
Oh, there we go.
What? Oh, okay, that works. Kristoff is Loki's best friend. He's a human, and he doesn't know who Loki is. And Kristoff's just really, really funny. He's also Loki's manager for when Loki's performing magic and stuff for the humans. So he's one of the best characters. And then there's other characters that I love even more that I can't say yet. So
Kristoff's not your favorite character?
No, you know who my favorite two are.
Oh, the two that we
Yes,
mentioned.
the two that we mentioned.
The
I
two-
love those two so much. They're awesome.
The two people we brought in from Norse mythology.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they're tied with Loki and Kristoff, but they're pretty cool characters. I can't say who they are.
So what would you say you like best about the book?
Okay. I'm pausing because it's hard to think of the best one and not because it's hard to find a good one. I like that it shows what happened before everything that Marvel said happened. Like, it's not actually Marvel, but it says what could and should have happened before that.
Okay,
I don't know if that makes any sense.
Sure, it does.
It makes enough.
Well, and that was kind of the point when we originally started writing it as a fan fiction. It was supposed to be a backstory for Loki. And it still is, because it can fit into the Marvel Universe, but it can also stand completely on its own as a backstory or just another story for the Norse character as well. Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts, Ariana. So, one of the things, oh, here we go again, me with my terrible videographer skills. One of the things that I wanted to do for you guys today is I wanted to read to you a little bit from the book. So if you're on my mailing list, and you can get on my mailing list and you can get updates and those sort of things. Now, of course, the main purpose of the mailing list was to say when the book finally went live and to release excerpts and things. And that's pretty much passed now because the book is available, which is super exciting. And I'll get to that in a minute. But first, I want to read to you, I'm interrupting myself. If you are on my mailing list, you have already read, most likely, the prologue in chapter 1. If you do not want to have any part of the book revealed to you before you get your copy, then you might want to tune out right now, as I am going to read to you from the prologue and chapter 1 of the book. Now, when we come back at 1 o'clock, we are going to do another reading. And what I would really love for you guys to do is tell me what kind of a scene you would like for me to read out loud. I can do a scene from book 1, or I can give you a little teaser of book 2. Now, of course, with book 2, I have to be careful because there's going to be major spoilers in there. And you really do need to read book 1 before you read book 2. So, without any further ado, Ariana, can you hold the camera so that I can have both hands free on the book?
Don't know if I can.
Okay, so our arms are getting tired. So this is the book. It is a 5.5 by 8.5 size, and you can see those crazy eyes. That gray strip will not be on your copy. This is my author-proof copy that I had to read through to make sure that everything is laid out properly, that there weren't any major errors, pages missing, you know, the kind of things that can happen in the printing process. Of course, if you get your book and there's a problem, please let me know so that we can get to the bottom of it and take care of it. So,
sorry,
I am going to go ahead and read now. If I can find my place in the book.
Where are you reading?
Prologue. Okay.
Chapter 1.
All right, so beginning with the prologue. The pain was unbearable. Love had become loss. Joy had become agony. Life had become the basis of existence.
Sorry.
He sat alone by the ornate fireplace in his chambers, staring forlornly at a faded photograph he should not even have. It was his most precious possession, worn from too much handling. Many of his people had visited other realms in the past, but he had transgressed the laws of his father and done it in secret. No one could ever know, leaving him with little choice but to bear alone the high price his double life had cost him. His journeys were best forgotten, but did he have the mental and emotional strength to do what must be done to achieve blissful amnesia? He had begged, pleaded for the pain to be taken from him. The answer he had been given echoed in his mind. Only you can deal with your own grief. Embrace the pain, make friends with it, for the only way out is the way through. If he finally faced the grief and anger simmering under the surface, rather than push it down as he had done, would the numbness for which he longed elude him no more? His strong will to live had kept him going, but if one more wave of sorrow laid waste to his heart, He feared he would not survive another day. Could he allow his memories to wash over him just once more, to relive it all, to really let it hurt? Deep inside him, he knew if he refused, he could not bury the life he had lived and move on with the only life he had left. His hands shook. The photograph floated to the floor. He was finally ready. He raked his fingers through his black hair, grabbing tufts of it to steel himself for what he was about to do. He winced as he unlocked his own mind and stepped into the flashbacks that haunted him. Chapter 1. The youngest son of Odin stared blandly out his palace window, from which he could see the edge of the lonely forests of Asgard. In just a few months he would be entering the dark foliage to embark on the rite of passage required of all Asgardian men. His slightly older brother had recently returned from that very experience, tougher and more arrogant, if that were possible. Now it would finally fall upon him. He both dreaded and longed for it, determined to prove himself his brother's equal. During this time of utter solitude, even the great, all-seeing watcher and keeper of Asgard's gates was forbidden to cast his gaze upon him. Through deep inner reflection and survival against the harsh realities of the wilderness, he would emerge a man and a warrior, ready to take his place in Asgardian history and glory. What glory! He snorted inwardly as his thoughts turned dark. All Asgardians were born with unique abilities to influence and contribute to the world around them. Like his mother, the youngest prince could manipulate light, sound, and brainwaves. She had spent years teaching him to control these abilities. His powers had indeed grown under her tutelage. Despite the fact that he could do what his brother could not, he was always second best. And because strength and power were coveted above mental agility, he feared he always would be. Still, he knew his own worth. Why should he be content to merely serve the throne, with no chance to earn any true glory for himself? As spatters of rain marred his view, he turned away from the window to survey his room, the one place that was his own. Perhaps he was not quite so eager to leave these palace comforts for loneliness and trial, even for just 3 months, the blink of an eye in the long lifespan of an Asgardian. At least he had a summer birthday and would complete his rite of passage before winter. "Loki!" his mother Frigga called, sounding rushed and distant. "Thor has returned from Alfheim. Come quickly and welcome him." He pushed himself away from his luxurious chaise lounge, wondering where she was. He could tell she had projected her voice and wished she had bothered to come get him herself or to send a guard as she usually did. He hurriedly changed into suitable banquet clothes. At least the predictable celebrations and revelry for his brother would be a welcome escape from monotony and endless study. His clipped footsteps echoed through the magnificent golden halls, where he and Thor had chased each other as children. It felt emptier now. As boys they had been the best of friends, but Thor had little time for him these days. He resented the circumstances that had brought distance and separation between them. Ever since their eldest brother Balder had died tragically in battle before his own rite of passage, Asgardians were not permitted to fight in real battle or travel to other realms until after their rites of passage. And so, despite being fully grown, Loki had been left behind. In Thor's eagerness to engulf himself in duties befitting a crown prince, he did not even seem to notice Loki's absence most of the time. He had better not pretend he missed me, Loki thought resentfully. "Loki!" Thor came flying around the corner, arms outstretched and face beaming through his full beard. "How goes it with you, brother?" "Boring," Loki answered glumly, half-heartedly returning his brother's embrace. "Now, Loki, don't be cruel," chided Frigga, stepping through the billowing curtains of a nearby balcony to greet her grown sons. "I thought you enjoyed my lessons, at least." Loki smiled fondly at his mother, whose reddish blonde curls fell around her lovely face and slender shoulders. "Always, mother. I just wish all my studies were as interesting as yours. They never will be." Frigga winked at Loki as she linked arms with both men to walk toward the banquet hall. Loki rolled his eyes as Thor threw his head back and laughed. His mother's witty comment might normally please him, but his brother's obvious happiness annoyed him. "Soon enough, little brother, you'll be by my side once more," Thor thundered, his blue eyes filled with mirth. "And then we shall celebrate your mighty deeds. But hurry, we mustn't keep father waiting." Together the three entered the banquet hall, where they would host their guests. King Odin Allfather stood there, regal in raiment, holding his great staff. His graying hair, which had once been jet black, like Loki's, hinted at the wisdom he had earned from many lifetimes of experience and added to the imposing figure he made. His two pet ravens perched in the ornate cage they occupied during meals, rather than on Odin's shoulders. "My queen!" the king bellowed, holding his hand out for Frigga to join him at his side, then turned to address Thor and Loki. "My sons!" "Father!" Odin's sons greeted him in unison, then glanced at each other and stifled a mutual snicker. And for a moment all was as it had been, reminding Loki of happier days when they would pretend to listen to one of their father's long lectures on appropriate behavior after Loki had thought up something brilliant and roped Thor into his plans. Loki almost relinquished his bitterness, but he quickly slipped back into all too familiar pangs of jealousy, as Thor excitedly told their parents about his latest visit to Alfheim. More Asgardians streamed into the hall with several honored guests from Vanaheim, where Frigga had lived before marrying Odin. The large room was quickly filled with clanging dishes and uproarious laughter, but Loki was not in a celebratory mood. As he stood slightly apart from his family, no one seemed to notice him. All focus was on Thor, as it usually was. Loki ignored the food and the revelry as the banquet wore on, looking for a way to escape. If loneliness was to be his fate this night, he would rather be alone. And so he slipped away as soon as he could manage it, making his way to one of the balconies overlooking the city. Dusk had already fallen, and lights began to twinkle in the distant dwellings. The rising moon cast a silver shimmer over the alabaster walls of the city. The sight was beautiful, but it did not please him. Kicking at one of the pillars, he decided to visit the kitchen and persuade one of the cooks to fix him something. He had lost his appetite at the banquet, but found he was hungry now. To his disappointment, the entire staff was frantically trying to keep up with the voracious appetites of Thor, his warrior friends, and their many guests. They had no time for him. Like everyone else in this infernal palace, Loki thought bitterly. Grabbing one of his favorite golden apples, he sauntered back to his quarters. He took a big, juicy bite, then tossed it into the air as he walked. Over and over, higher and higher. He was almost to his quarters when he missed, sending the apple rolling. It stopped at one of the tapestries. As he bent down to pick it up, he saw the crack of a doorway he had never noticed behind the heavy fabric. Curiosity took hold of him. The door was locked, but his mechanical mind allowed him to easily pick the lock. Peeking inside, he saw a stone staircase winding down to an empty storeroom lit by the moon shining from a high window. An ominous black opening near the back of the room could only be a tunnel, no doubt built in case of invasion. Loki quickly gathered light particles from a few moon rays around him, manipulating them into a flare of light to illuminate his way. The tunnel was thick with cobwebs and dust, but led him no farther than just outside the palace walls. As he turned back in disappointment, a flash of red and blue light caught his eye. It had come from the deep hollow of an unkempt giant oak tree that looked as forgotten as the storeroom. As he drew close, his flare of light illuminated a brilliance that dazzled his eyes. Shading them with one hand, he peered into the hollow and was alarmed to feel a strong magnetic draw. He thrashed and struggled, but it was no use. The opening had seemed narrow, but he was sucked inside before he could shout for help. And that's where I'm going to stop. It's not the complete first chapter, but if I say too much more, for one, this is going to get insanely long, and for two, I don't want to spoil too much. So that's just a little bit from the book. Now, you're probably wondering at this point, well, where can I get the book? The paperback and the ebook are both available on Amazon. Thank you, Ariana. And then you can also get the ebook on several other websites. I will be posting those links to my Facebook page. I haven't figured out the technology to post the link in the comments. I'll see if I can do that after I end the video. And hi, Mary. I didn't mean to ignore you. I do see you there. The other thing that I wanted to do before we close this live is a giveaway. So I would love to do a sharing blitz. I would love to pepper Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any other social media out there that I'm not aware of. I would just love to pepper those social media platforms with the link to my Amazon store. But I can't do it alone. So I'm asking all of you to help me. And I'm going to do a giveaway just to give you guys a gift for helping me. So the rules are that you have to share the Amazon link and why you're excited to read the book. So every share on a page, a group, or a profile counts as an entry to the giveaway. So we're going to do a drawing at the end of the day. Actually, I think I'm going to let it go 24 hours. So if we have reached 100 shares of the actual Amazon link with why you're excited about the book, if we have reached 100 shares in 24 hours, then I will do the giveaway. Every share counts as an entry. So here are the rules. You have to tag me in it. I have to be able to see it in order to count it as an entry. So either tag me in it, or if I'm not on that social media platform, or I'm not friends with you, or for some reason I don't see the share, then you can take a screenshot of it and either email or Facebook message it to me. My email address is ladymindking@gmail.com. I will also put that on my Facebook page or in the comments so that you guys have that, as well as the Amazon link. So again, you have to tag me in it. I have to see it. If I don't like the post, then I didn't see it. So make sure that if that happens, that you send me a screenshot. So let's see, it is 10:44 a.m. So we're going to start it now, and we will end it at 11. We'll do
maybe 2 days.
No, I want it to be 24 hours. So we'll do it. We'll end it at 10:45 Mountain Time tomorrow. And so as long as we have 100 shares by then,
it's not 10:45. It's 9:45.
Oh, I'm sorry. My computer's wrong. It's 9:45. Sorry, everybody. So 9:45 Mountain Time tomorrow, Tuesday. Just in case you're hearing this after the fact. Today is April 1st, Monday, April 1st. So we will end the drawing tomorrow, Tuesday, April 2nd at 9:45 a.m. Mountain Time. So you're probably wondering, okay, well, what is the prize? So one person that I will draw from all of the shares will get a signed copy of the paperback and a pair of Loki-inspired earrings. We will be doing another giveaway at 1 o'clock. So definitely, take part in as many giveaways as you can, because it's super fun. And then it helps me because it helps to continue to get the word out there. So if you have any questions at all about the contest, let me know. I'll be posting the rules and the links in my Facebook page, and I'll try to do it on the comments here if I can figure that out. So I think that's all that we had for our very first Facebook Live. Please let me know in the comments how you liked it, if there's anything that I can change. I would love to hear what you guys would like to hear as far as another reading goes, and any ideas or input or feedback that you have for the second prize, and just anything really that you want to share with me. Would love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching and for joining us, and we'll see you at 1 o'clock.